Well, join me in Psalm 110. With the time we have remaining, we just want to touch on this psalm very briefly. It's only 7 verses, so I'm not sure it will take us all week, but we'll see how it goes and how the Lord leads us. Psalm 110, verse 1. Let's read it and follow along with me as I read. The Lord said unto my Lord. Now, this is a psalm of David. Before we read it, let me set it up a little bit. It's a psalm of David that's purely prophetic, okay? It's quoted several times in the New Testament. Jesus quotes this psalm. Peter quotes this psalm, especially this first verse. And so the Lord said unto my Lord. This is a conversation between 2 of David's lords. Very interesting. So keep that in mind. The Lord said unto my Lord, sit thou at my right hand, until I make thine enemies thy footstool. The Lord shall send the rod of thy strength out of Zion. Rule thou in the midst of thine enemies. Thy people shall be willing in the day of thy power. In the beauties of holiness, from the womb of the morning, thou hast the dew of thy youth. The Lord hath sworn, and will not repent. Thou art a priest forever, after the order of Melchizedek. The Lord at thy right hand shall strike through kings in the day of his wrath. He shall judge among the heathen. He shall fill the places with dead bodies. He shall wound the heads over many countries. He shall drink of the brook in the way. Therefore shall he lift up the head. So again, we have an eternal view of God speaking to God, a conversation between the Father and the Son amongst the Trinity, speaking of plans that are unfolding forward in the future, okay? Speaking of the new covenant, speaking of the role and the responsibilities, the identity and the accomplishment of Jesus, and what God will bless him with. And it's an astounding psalm that is purely about Christmas and all the essence of Christmas. The incarnation of God as king and priest, or as priest and then king. And it's interesting. We'll just talk about a couple high-end things about this psalm. He references Jesus. Jesus is referred to as a ruler, okay? Verse 2. Thy rod of strength out of Zion, rule thou. So there's ruling, there's the king, there's authority. But then look at verse 4. Thou art a priest forever. There's the shepherding. And in our vernacular, in our functionality, we believe in separation of church and state, right? So we believe that there is no earthly man-made system that should both rule and have the power over faith. We believe that those are distinct operations, that there should be a civil governance and there should be spiritual guidance. And these words, king and priest, kind of go together in the sense that, or they represent 2 functions that we all desperately need and want. We need civil governance. We need strong rulership that's good, that's pure, that's holy. We need a strong king that will execute justice, protect us, bring safety, bring peace. So you might say that a good king would take care of the outward circumstances of my life, but that's only part of really what I need. I need someone to solve my outward problems, okay? But you know what I also need? I need someone to help cultivate me and solve my inward problems. So I don't simply need a good ruler, a benevolent ruler. I need a gentle shepherd. And when you come to the word priest in the Old Testament, now again, today in the modern idea, religion has skewed this, but the office of priest in the Old Testament was a pastoral, shepherdly office. It was a mediator, sort of, between God and man. The priest was the one that facilitated the worship and the presentation of the people to the Lord, and was sort of a go-between. But in a day-to-day role, the priests were teachers and shepherds. They were to cultivate and nurture health in God's people. They were his hands and his voice and his feet, his ministry to them. And they were there to shepherd God's sheep as under-shepherds to the great shepherd. very different role than that of king. A king was there for civil governance, to protect the borders of the nation, to rule, to bring peace and safety and calm in the external environment. But the shepherd was kind of up close and relational and personal and involved in navigating personal life and feeding and caring for the sheep and tending to the sheep and still water and green pasture and so many beautiful metaphors. And the sense that I get of this is that Jesus is really to be both in the big picture of the gospel, in the big picture of Christmas, he is to be, let earth receive her king, but he's also to be that silent night, holy night, all is calm, that up close, intimate shepherd of my soul, shepherd of my heart. And I don't know about you, but I really need both. I need to know that one day God's going to intervene in the nations and execute justice, root out corruption, and deal with righteousness. But I also need, on a day-to-day basis, to know that I have a shepherd today and tomorrow, that God cares about my problems and my challenges and my inner world and my joy. And he came for the nations, but he came for me. That's what we studied yesterday in church, that he came for me, that he cared about these wise men in the East and gave all of their people, the Persians, access to truth, access to the gospel. It's so profound that God not only is interested in ruling the nations through Jesus as the preeminent eternal king, but he's interested in ruling your heart. He's interested in guiding you and walking with you today as your priest, as your one mediator between God and man, between God and you. He's the one link that brings you to God. And as your priest, he's your shepherd. He's your caregiver. He's the lover of your soul and of your heart. And I hope that makes you love him more today. We're going to look more at this psalm the coming few days as we look at the conversation between God and Jesus and this divine revelation to David. It's a profound thought to me that David understood the gospel at this level, at this depth. And so that's enough for today, my friend. Thank God you have a priest for your heart and life and soul. You have a God who cares up close and intimate about your problems today and your feelings today. But you have a coming king who's going to right every wrong and rule forever. So look forward to that day. Happy Monday. Thanks for joining me. And I hope you will share this devotion with someone who might be encouraged by it today. And as you celebrate Jesus this month, I hope that you will celebrate him not just as the baby in a manger, but as the conquering king that he really is.